Right, hello and welcome to episode 8 of ShrimpNet of this season anyway, the podcast of the Shrimps Trust here at Morecambe FC. Today to discuss the relevant events at the Mazuma with Dastardly and Mutley as usual. We have our house-trained boardroom Svengali with his insider knowledge. Charlie Appleyard, welcome along Charlie.
Give me Freez.
And joining him, we have our newly recruited head of recruitment. I thought that was quite a nippy little title. And it's Greg Strong. Thanks for joining us, Greg.
My pleasure. Lovely to be here.
Well, you might not say that at the end of it, but you might say it now. But that's
I'll say it now.
Yeah, say it now. You might change your mind. So, for those listening to this, most people listen to this obviously probably before the Cambridge game, or soon after it. At any rate, we've got a win, Joel. We've got a win! Hooray! 2-1 win at Forest Green. It was quite a decent game actually, wasn't it? It was quite, there was quite a few chances. Just before I come to all three of you to comment on it, my take on it was obviously saw the game, watched it back on iFollow. I thought despite the fact that we didn't have that much possession, I thought we had the better chances. And what's starting to pee me off is that this is never ever reflected in what ITV show on their highlights package at night at 11 o'clock at night. They showed our 2 goals and Forest Green with 3 attempts on goal. And I'm like, yeah, they scored one of them, but they didn't. The other 2 they showed. We hit the bar. We had one cleared off the line. Their keeper made a great save. Every week that happens to us, and that's my paranoia out of the way. Joel, over to you.
Yeah, I was a bit annoyed about that. I don't usually watch the show because, well, we haven't won all season, so I'm usually a bit of a sulk, so I don't watch it. But tonight I thought I'd stay up, and then, I stayed up till about 1:45, and then, for the highlights to be not very reflective. But, I don't really care because we won. So, but yeah, I thought it was a really just a really solid kind of counter-attacking performance, really.
Yeah.
I think we we let Forest Green play into our hands, really, because they obviously tried to play out from the back a bit, but they're not as good at it as, say, a Sheffield Wednesday or some of the biggest sides in the division. So it felt like we were, especially away from home, we were very, very, very happy just to really just let them fail to break us down. And that's kind of how it panned out, I felt, for a lot of it. And then, just hitting them on the break. I thought, it probably wasn't the most sparkly performance because it was kind of very just let them have the ball, let them pass themselves to death, then hit them on the break. But it was really effective, and it's been spoken about a bit already. Like the numbers, if you look at the underlying numbers from the game, it's very much in our favour. If you put it to the eye test and forget what the ITV highlights have, watch the whole game, you can see that we have we have far more better chances. So really successful performance. There were some really good bits of play. Cole Stockton, he looks like he's finding his kind of mojo again a little bit because obviously he's been out for quite a while, so it takes a little bit to get going. Kieran Phillips, unbelievable again. It's I love the way he just always is finding little patches of space to get in behind and stretch the fence. It's fantastic. He does it several times a game. It's really good. And Rawson, of course, fantastic, great head to win it at the end, but also a rock all game. Nice for him to go back to his old club as well and do that in stoppage time. And just a word in general for our midfield. I think it's fantastic. I think we've spoken about it a bit, and to be honest, Saturday probably wasn't the biggest game to show them off. Maybe we'll see a bit more of them against Cambridge, but when they get the ball, they're so tidy on it. Like Shaw, Weir, and Taylor, they're fantastic footballers, and they work hard defensively as well. So things are starting to shape up really nicely. But overall, thoroughly deserved win and a really good kind of effective counter-attacking performance.
And Greg, I'll come to you for a comment. There's as an ex-professional yourself, there is surely, after being a goal down, there is surely no better way to win a game than in the 93rd minute from a set piece. And you end it. You think, what we're going to do here? Oh, let's deliver this to the back post and hope our big centre half gets on the end of it. And there's no time to reply. And as an ex-pro, you're thinking, that's absolutely perfect, that, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And especially, like you said, going back to his old club and scoring it is a conversation that me and Faz had before he signed, actually. I had a good few conversations with him about how dominant he is in the air. but how few goals he scores, compared to, he wins probably 90% of the headers and the rest of the pitch. So my point was, it can only be a mental thing why you don't do it in the opposition box. Obviously, it's more congested, but you can do it, So me and him have a little bit of a joke about him scoring, and he's on 2 now, and I said, between him and Ryan, you would be expecting double figures from them, between them, for the season. And I don't think that's unrealistic. And I think it's targets that them two should be setting themselves, because even Ryan could have scored as well. Couple of chances, couple of free headers. And it's just that belief, when you believe you're going to score, when you believe you're going to get on the end of things in the opposition's box, it does become, it's success breeds success. The more you score, the more you feel like you're going to score, so hopefully that continues as well. So I was really pleased for him, and it was great for him to do it against his old club. And like I say, great team performance. I think the discipline, how solid the lads were, they stuck to the game plan. And I think we always looked a threat, with the 2 up front, and like I said, with the quality of midfield, I think we're a little bit of a worry for teams now. I don't think teams can just throw men forward. It keeps people honest when they're playing against us now.
I think that's a good point, actually, because as Joel alluded to there, that we've spoken about it the last couple of weeks on the podcast, and the fact that signing these young and hungry midfielders, 2 on loan and 1 signed in Jake Taylor, all of a sudden it's created a bit of a different dynamic, because we can see that one goes, the other 2 stay, and and they take it in turns, so they're using the sprints, etc. But we tended to be a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Probably a little bit more measured in midfield, rather than getting rid quick and trying to follow it up.
Yes, I think that the players who have come in, and also with the players who are already at the club, we've got some good players who are already at the club. It's not just the new ones who have come in. They've got good qualities. They've got good qualities, and they've got that composure, which you need in the heat of battle. You need good composure, and you need to be able to take a breath, take a touch, and pick the right pass. And I think with the combination that we've got in there, I think we've got a good combination who can all do them things, take a breath at the right time and pick the right pass. And with the 2 up front now, 1 into feet with Cole, who's obviously he's a strong boy and likes to come into feet, and the threat with Kieran running in behind, it's a good combination that I know myself playing as a centre-half, it causes you a lot of problems. Do you go in really tight and leave a space in behind? It is a problem that hopefully we will be causing teams.
And Charlie, you were I believe the lone boardroom attendee at the New Lawn on Saturday. So that was probably a great game to be at. Our first win of the season, away from home, 93rd minute. Things don't get much better than that, do they?
No, it was just 2 times been to Forest Green in the last couple of seasons. We've scored in the 93rd, 94th minute. It was great to see. You could just tell we were going to win. You could tell we were going to get enough chances, and they looked a lot more confident. I thought that, Greg. They looked really, really confident, as if they knew it was going to happen. It was, I think that's come from over the last few weeks and building momentum. But you could tell they were going to get at least 2-3 more chances. And I heard on another podcast today that Forest Green didn't have a shot after 60 minutes.
No,
didn't have a single shot. So by the powers of average numbers of shots, 0 versus 2 or 3, you're going to hopefully stick 1 away. But it was just great to see, and Derek was absolutely buzzing afterwards, which was really good. He was obviously very relieved because Derek and I've had a few chats for the last few weeks, so it's been coming on it, Greg. Derek's not been worried at all. He's been very confident.
Yeah, I know I'm not the only one to say it, but when you look at the run of fixtures that we have had difficult fixtures, and I know, listen, you can look at the league and you say you're always going to have difficult fixtures. Yes, we are, but there have been some really tough ones that we've had, and I don't think we've disgraced ourselves in a lot of them. I think there's been parts in games that you've looked and gone, yeah, I can see that working. I can see us being solid defensively and hard to break down. I can see us being able to control games a little bit better in midfield, and I can see us being a threat up top as well. So then things, listen, winning breeds confidence, you know, and there's no doubt about that. And good performances without wins for a long sustained period of time, they do have a adverse effect on your confidence. But that win has sort of backed up what I think some of the performances have deserved as well. You know, and I know Derek said it as well, but I think we should have had another couple of wins on there ourselves as well.
I think there's a lot to be said in taking everybody's point. Really, there was something I hadn't really thought about, but where you mentioned there, Charlie, there was a composure. I think it's important to mention going a goal down and then coming back to take the 3 points, and that we didn't look panicky at any point. And that's a good thing, Joel, because obviously, you know, that does show that we've got that composure and we've got that confidence.
Yeah, I think if we look back to Derek's first spell in charge and that promotion season, not taking those kind of knockbacks to heart too much and just kind of getting on with it was a bit of a hallmark. And obviously another hallmark of that season was scoring a lot of late goals. Yeah. And I think that was set up. I think if we look back at that season, we scored a late goal against Cheltenham to win on the opening day, and that kind of really set the tone for the rest of the season. I think if I look back at last season, there was a couple of late goals we conceded very early on. There was Ipswich away, and they scored a 90-something minute equaliser. And then obviously a few weeks later, which I think really kind of prompted a big downturn in form, was losing against Wimbledon in the last minute. Yeah. And I think these kind of things are quite hard to really put your finger on. They are a little bit intangible sometimes, but I think it does show that these moments can kind of set a tone throughout the season. And given the late goals we would score under Derek in that promotion season, how we would fight back from positions where we maybe go behind or suffer setbacks, I think it's good to see that kind of similar belief and character to be able to come back like we did against Forest Green from a goal down, then get that last minute goal. You know, I think that's a really promising sign.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's sorry to butt in there, David, but I think it's probably testament as well to how hard the lads have worked pre-season. You know, these late goals, because yes, there's belief and character and things that get you the goals, but you've got to be fit enough to get into them positions as well, and keep going and knocking on the door. And I was there for a good few of the pre-seasons, pre-season sessions, as I have been with Derek over a number of years. And I know that there won't be many clubs who have worked harder than our players have during pre-season. Yeah, and I know there's times when you're dragging yourself off the floor and looking and thinking, I can't go again. But they prove to themselves that they can go again, you know, and I think some of the boys are in really good condition.
So that those piles of puke on the side of the training ground prove that they've done the training.
Yeah, they've put in the hard yards, yes.
If you look at the team, I think the defenders trust the goalies. The goalies are both excellent. You've got the 3 guys in central defence who are all, you know, amazing players. And you've got the wing backs. You know, Gibbo got subbed on Saturday, absolutely livid, because that was great to see the character, how much you want to play. And the midfielders, you know, the people who are playing and not playing. Look at the guys on the bench who aren't playing. they were starting last year, and they're good players. And then you've got good substitutes. And then I think Cole likes playing with Phillips. They're going to have a good partnership. And then you've got Arthur and Dylan and all those guys to bring on. There's lots of variety, and I think it's taken 7, 8, 9, 10 games of playing together to get the bond going, I think.
And I think that's a good time to move on to the Papa John's. I was going to say JPT then. That's aging it, isn't it? The Papa John's on Tuesday night, which was, you know, being honest, the 90 minutes was probably up there with refelt in the shed roof, but in pouring rain. But it was what it was. As Charlie's just said there, we gave 9 changes. So lots of people got 90 minutes. Anthony O'Connor did well. Ryan Cooney did well. I thought Jacob Beddoe, for me, was the man of the match, but they gave it Coons, and I understand why. And there was plenty of people who did themselves, you know, hard yards, getting the minutes in. It was, shall we say, it was frustrating to watch at times, because both team's ball retention was absolutely bloody awful. Sometimes you get games like that. You get games where it's going to be, you know, if you see sort of 50 games a season, there's going to be 3 or 4 where you think, well, that was instantly forgettable. But the great thing about the Papa John's is obviously you get the drama of penalties at the end. And that's what I'm coming to now, because I'm just like, we have turned into the Germany, or the West Germany of penalty kicks, Joel. This is fabulous to watch. It was never in doubt, was it?
I know, yeah. I'm starting to, I mean, we're saying about confidence breeds confidence. It's, you know, it looks like the way in the penalties as well. But yeah, I mean, the game itself, I think with the Papa John's, a lot of the teams are going to be making lots of changes. I think Hartlepool made quite a lot of changes. We made 9, obviously. And I think it's either going to go 2 ways a lot of the time, isn't it? You're either going to have an Everton situation where things are a little bit chaotic and you have a lot of goals, or you're going to have like last night where players haven't played so much recently, they've got a bit of rust or whatever, haven't quite gelled yet because it's kind of like a lot of people who've been on the bench are out the squad. So, you know, it doesn't quite click. I think both teams, that was probably the case last night. But like you say, it's good to get minutes in them, and then yeah, fantastic penalties. I think we've missed one. I tweeted that we'd scored 15 out of 17, but I was wrong actually. It's 16 out of 17. I was corrected. Yeah. So that's a ridiculous conversion rate. So yeah, it's nice to see that, because I think historically we haven't always had the best record at penalties. I remember there was one season, I think it was one Jim Bentley's final seasons. I think we had like 5 penalties in the league throughout the season. I think we missed 3 of them. Yeah, something like that. So it's nice to see.
How many been saved or missed by the opposition?
I don't know. Joel, you're the
man. I'm showing myself up here.
Come on, Joel.
1, 2, 3, 6, 5. I think 5 missed by the opposition.
There you go. So
actually, to quit on that quickly. Actually, Adam Smith, fantastic couple of saves, especially that first one. That was a really good save, I thought. The second one was really good as well, but that first one especially was fantastic. You know, he's not had a lot to do all game, and obviously, as I'm sure we'll talk about, Barry's got his water bottle sorted for Adam, and he's come up trumps, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think we'll come to Greg now, because obviously is that what you do, Greg? Sign people who can take penalties and then look at how good they are afterwards.
Yeah, it's number 1 priority. You know, number 1 on the checklist. But no, the lads have been fantastic, and like you say, it's irrelevant to the competition. It's still nerve-wracking, you know, getting up there and taking that penalty. And fair play to the lads; they've shown, you know, good courage, good composure again, and obviously really good technique, you know, to finish the penalties off. So fair play to them. And like I said before, we're very fortunate to have 3 very good goalkeepers, you know, with Andre as well out on loan. 3 really good goalkeepers who push each other on every single day, you know, to get better.
Yeah.
And actually, penalties as well. They're not like mistakes by the goalie. They're absolutely unsavable penalties. Out of those 15 and 16, there's probably 13 or 14 unsavable.
Yeah, I think the one that was probably savable was the winner against Stoke from Shane McLaughlin, which he sort of shanked a bit, didn't he? But he got there because he filled the keeper. So I suppose that's fair enough. And I'll come to you, Charlie, now, because obviously that Tuesday afternoon I took the dogs out for a walk, and I was on Heysham Cliffs, and who was there but Barry Roach on his phone. And I saw it, obviously I said hello, and he said, having a quiet moment, Barry. He was like, yeah, just doing a bit of research, and that's what he was doing. He was looking at people's penalties. So how fun is that? It pays off in the end, doesn't it?
Yeah, brilliant. Barry's a very diligent guy, and we're very lucky to have him on board. Very good goalie as well, you might remember. Yeah,
fantastic goalie. And obviously, if we can get Connor and Adam to score like Barry scored the equaliser against Portsmouth in the 93rd minute, strangely enough, that'd be good as well. But looking at the JPT, it's quite a good money spinner for the club, Charlie. I mean, I know we don't get as much for the draw, but winning on penalties, but it hasn't caught the public's eye for me. And this is only personal, since the under 23s came into it from all the Premier League clubs. I think there was more interest when there were conference clubs in it and You know, that's how we first got it when we were in the conference. And I think it's lost a little bit of that kudos bringing the under-23s in, but obviously there are better financial implications for the club, aren't there?
Yeah, as Greg knows, Dave wants to win every game. He'll want to win the trophy, won't he, Greg? You know, he'll want to go all the way. We get money on the way. The penalty shootouts are really, really exciting. You know, people will probably go and watch these games to, you know, maybe we get to Harrogate with us to for the Annapurna Derby in a few weeks' time to see another one. It's looking really close, isn't it? If Harrogate beat the under-21s, then it's going to be a very, very, very. It's not going to be dead rubber at all. It's going to be a very important game, the Harrogate game.
All to play for.
Yeah.
So can we go all the way? Come on, guys. Can we go all the way by penalties, Joel?
Easily, of course. I mean, on current form, why not? Why not?
Why can't we? We you know, well, there's about 6 games left. Six more penalty shootouts. We can win that.
I like your confidence, and like you say, Greg, no pressure.
I don't take the pens, but no, you know what? We won it in my time when we was at Salford, and it is quite funny because the game seemed at this stage. I mean, I was out on Tuesday there. I was watching Tranmere against Bolton. I don't actually get to come to many of our games. Obviously, I'm always somewhere else, but the atmosphere is not not the same. The crowd's not the same. The tempo of the games isn't the same. But once you get through the group stage, and all of a sudden people realise you can get to Wembley, it does come again. You know, where all of a sudden the intensity does come, and the crowds do come back in, and the interest comes back. And like I said, for us as a club, financially, winning games is always good. Whatever you're playing, pre-season games, cup games, whatever it is, it's always the aim, and it always should be the aim. But obviously, it has a financial effect on the club as well, which obviously comes hand in hand, which is a good thing as well for us.
Well, quite a few years ago, we had a bit of a run, and we actually got to the Northern Area final against Grimsby, and we actually ended up losing at home, and I think we lost 1-0 away as well. But that was a horrible atmosphere at Grimsby because we were taking it serious, as were Grimsby, because there was like 7,000 there that night, and it was a very, very intimidating atmosphere. But that was because there was Wembley at stake, and it was certainly a big game that day. So we probably made a few quid out of that. So it's a good thing to do. But like I say, the early stages, I don't think it quite catches fire. But I mean, we'll see. I'll take it. Like you say, it's all set up for the Harrogate game, Charlie, and the Annapurna Derby, as you called it.
Yeah, it's going to be good. We're going up there, and we just got to not concede any goals. So get 11 men behind the ball, 90 minutes, go penalties, and win.
There you are. That's the tactics sorted, Greg. Just tell Derek. So I'll come to you now, Greg. Obviously, you had a fairly distinguished career. You started with your hometown club.
Well, I'm sort of from Atherton, which is sort of in between Bolton and Wigan.
Wigan. So Bolton. You ended up Bolton and Wigan. So you've done both of them, haven't you? So,
yeah.
But then you had a good period at Motherwell, and that's where you played with Derek Adams. Is that right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I went my first spell that I went on loan from Bolton. I was at Bolton at a time when a lot of good players were being signed and a lot of money was being spent. Seems like pennies now, but it was a lot of money at the time. Club record seems to be being broken week after week. Difficult for a younger player to get in. So I went on loan to Motherwell, who were I think we was third, fourth at the time. We was fighting for Europe to get into Europe. And it was at a time when the SPL was roaring, really, a lot of good players going there, a lot of big money being spent. Yeah. It was at a time when I think Tor Andreflor was bought from Chelsea. I think it was probably about 11 million, which I don't think them figures have been repeated again since, and it's a long time ago. Chris Sutton, John Hartson, Henrik Larsson, there was big names in a lot of the teams there, as we spoke about before. We was unfortunate we missed out last game of the season by a point getting into Europe, and then in the summer they agreed to sign me and pay a little bit of money, more fuel than maybe, but they paid a little bit of money for me, and yeah, I spent some good time there, and obviously that was where I got to know Derek.
And obviously you had, I'll come to the shirt that you've got there, Claudio Caniggia. He made his debut and you kicked him around a bit, I understand.
Yeah, it was a time when Dundee, they invested quite a lot of money and brought in a lot of Italian, Argentinian, Spanish players, good players, really good players. But to be fair, they weren't shy as well at putting themselves about a little bit. You know, there was a few of ours who took kicks as well. But yeah, I was fortunate enough. I marked him for the day, and he scored a wonder goal on the day as well, which one of the few that probably wasn't my fault. But he scored a great goal, and I managed to get his shirt after the game.
And there it is. Look, got a special place behind you, and quite understandably, really. So, you came to us as head of recruitment from Salford. Was that the Derek thing? Was that the Derek connection, or had you always kept in touch, or how did it come out?
So we met again. Actually, I came back to England, played a little bit, played for Hull and a few clubs, and then I was involved in a swap deal, and I went back to Livingston, who were in the SPL again, and Derek signed as well at Livingston, so we played together there as well. And we'd always kept in touch, you know, because I went into management in the Welsh Premier League, and Derek was at a higher level than I was and doing well. So yeah, I used to ring him and pick his brains at times, as I did with a lot of old players who I'd played with, and Billy Davis, who had managed us, just looking for advice and help. We always kept in touch, and then when he got the Plymouth job, he called me up, and I just left after 6 years managing at the same club. Just left in that summer, needed something new. And Derek had just accepted the Plymouth job, and literally there was hardly any time in between, and he offered me the role of head of recruitment, chief scout, head of recruitment at Plymouth, and we spent 3 years.
That's a big move, isn't it? I mean, obviously, as a professional footballer, you're used to moving around. So I suppose you get used to that. Where you've been to Scotland a few times, came back to Hull, went back to Scotland again. Then you took the players manager's job at Rill, as you've said. So you've done just about every country. But then Plymouth being the sort of southwest, that's quite a big upheaval, isn't it?
It is, but I mean, I was fortunate. I had a good relationship with Derek. Derek, hopefully, well, I'm pretty sure he does trust me. He knows I work hard and I do my thing. But I suppose when we spoke about it, to be head of recruitment, chief scout at Plymouth, probably the worst place you could live is Plymouth. You know, I don't mean that in a horrible way, but there's no grounds around. There's nowhere for you to go. It's 2.5 hours to get to Bristol. You know, your Exeter's still an hour, you know, and then you've got Torquay. So being there and being based there wouldn't logistically work. Me being where I was here, still in the same place near Manchester, I could get to so many more games and cover so many more bases that it didn't really make sense for me to live in Plymouth. Obviously, I needed to go there at times to have meetings and catch-ups and make sure that I wasn't a stranger to the rest of the staff. But we made it work, and it did work, and we had some really good success, you know, during our time there.
And then, like I say, so it was a really natural progression then when Derek returned to us, sort of like in sort of January, February for us this year, and we had a head of recruitment, but obviously Martin left. So Derek's first choice was you, or did you approach him, or how did it work?
Yeah, let's say it was. I think my time at Salford, it was coming to a natural end. You know, it's a tough environment there, and it's very demanding. You know, and high pressure. You know, daily. So my time there was coming to an end. You know, like I say, a mutual one, not a problem. And obviously this position was open, so it just seemed to work perfectly. Yeah.
So I'm going to hand you. That's the easy bit. I'm going to hand you over to Joel now. And
my phone's just going. I just need to.
I don't blame you. I mean, can you hear me? Can you hear me? No, you gone. Oh yeah, fair enough. I'm going to go, Joel.
Right, yeah. No, I'll start with an easy one. I think we obviously with the position and the way that a head of recruitment works with the manager. I think we saw this with the previous setup with Stephen Robinson and Martin Foyle, that he brought Martin in because they were quite close and they had a good working relationship. And it feels like Derek's done the same with yourself because you've got a good working relationship. So how important is that you are kind of getting on and you're kind of joined up and you're thinking in that role between manager and head of recruitment?
Yeah, for a few reasons. I mean, one is we have to speak regularly. We have to speak, communicate, run over the games that I've seen, the players that I've seen, and vice versa, and share opinions. So you've got to have a relationship to be able to do that as often as we do, to start off with. And secondly, I mean, like I say, I've worked with Derek, for a long time before, and I know what Derek looks for, in terms of a profile for each position. I know what Derek Adams' team looks like. And I know how Derek wants to win games, and I know the sort of ingredients that need to go into that cake to make it. I'd like to think I do anyway. He might disagree, but together I think we see similar things, and I at times have got to see things through his eyes, because ultimately it's not my team, it's Derek's team, and I need to see things and understand exactly what he expects, with and without the ball from every position.
So I was going to kind of lead into asking, does Derek ever kind of give you a brief of like what kind of player I want, player with X and Y characteristics in midfield, or is it kind of a more kind of organic, natural back and forth kind of conversation?
No, we have sort of player KPIs for each position, that we look for, certain characteristics for each position, where if they don't fit into that profiling, we're not going to sign them. So when it comes into the melting pot at the end of the decisions, when we've got maybe 5 in each position, there shouldn't be anyone in any of them 5 who don't fit the profile, otherwise they shouldn't be in there. So they're all then, it's a discussion of, are they available, are they affordable? And if they are, do they want to come? And they're the questions then, and then we pick our best one, or our best one, that's bad wording. We pick our number one priority or number one target, and we work from there. But it's not always just as simple as that, because that's our thinking. But you've also got a lot of other clubs with similar sort of thinking as well, who then you've got to put the gloves on and have a fight to try and get the players.
So I guess that's probably quite the less fun side of the job. So obviously the fun stuff is, I imagine, is watching the players, evaluating them, discussing them all. And I guess the less fun side is fighting out with other clubs to sign them.
Yeah, it's tough. It's very tough. You need to try and find a niche. You need to try and find something that makes us above the others. And sometimes, like I say, it might not be financial, but there might be a squad player somewhere else. They might have competition where they're not going to get as many games as they are at ours. We might be fighting against a team who can offer bigger finances in a lower league. We've got to use our focus on be a League One player and try and climb that ladder again. And I think we've done well with that. With some of the players that we've got. And I know it was mentioned earlier that we've got some good, young, hungry players. I'd agree with that, because having meetings and speaking with some of the players when they were coming in, a lot of the players were looking up the way. They weren't, and please don't say this in the wrong way, they weren't looking at coming here and getting Morecambe tattoos and being here for the rest of their life. They're looking at coming here and, I want to be a championship player, or I want to play here and I want to do this, which is brilliant for everyone, because that's what we want. We want good players. Yeah,
exactly. You kind of want that reputation of being able to give that platform to other players, don't you? Because that kind of builds over time, I imagine.
Yeah, 100%. And once you give that, and like I said, last year, one's gone to Luton, and once you start building a reputation like that, all of a sudden it becomes easier. Then you've got a story to tell to bring the next ones in.
So going back to kind of, you mentioned about having certain KPIs for players.
I knew you like that. I knew you like that. I was smiling away inside. I'm thinking, oh, Joel will love that.
I was kind of wondering, how much is that? So when you're scouting players, is it, how much does data play a role in it much? Or is that kind of partly just kind of watching them and you kind of designate those KPIs?
Yeah, the data can be used for sort of identifying a player that we may not have seen or maybe flying under the radar and sort of performing at a good level but not being seen the same. So it can work at that, but it can work at the end as well, sort of top and tail really, for validating your decisions on who you've watched. We've watched maybe someone 3, 4, 5 times. These are our opinions of them. Can the data back that up? And most of the time it does. But I don't think we're a club, and certainly I don't think Derek's a manager who would ever sign a player just purely on data, because I think there are so many things that you can't measure on data, that sort of attitude, resilience, how do you react to mistakes? How do you react to adversity? None of these things can be covered. Aggression, confidence, all of these things, they can't be covered by data. You got to be there, you got to see it, you got to smell it.
So what you say about that, Sir Joel? You want to say yes all on data?
No. So not at all. You got to combine it. It's what we want to hear, really. But like, in terms of kind of evaluating those kind of personalities and characters, obviously, I imagine part of it does come from watching and how they apply themselves on the pitch. But also at the same time, what kind of steps do you take to try and maybe speak to people in the game who know them and kind of get an understanding of their character?
Always, or it's something that I've always done. References are big, but you just need to be careful at times, because you can go for too many, and there'll always be someone who will say something negative, and it's how you want to take that information that you get. But always try and speak to someone who's managed, coached, played alongside, shared a dressing room with, them sort of people, because inside of a dressing room, you can't hide your personality for a season or 2 seasons, or however long you're there. It's going to come out, So, yeah, we always do that, and we always will do that.
So when you're kind of looking at building the squad, obviously, it's you can't really do it over one window. So how many kind of transfer windows do you think it does take to kind of really get a squad in an optimum place that you want it?
I don't think it ever ends, to be fair, because I genuinely don't, because there's always good players who are available. There's always form. You could think you've got the ideal team, injuries, loss of form. So you've just got to, from our point of view, we've got to always be ready, for whatever may be. Even look at the start of the season, and we lost Max and we lost Ashunta in a short space of time, who were going to be 2 important players for us. But what you do, you got to find a way, and that's what we've always got to do. We've always got to do that in recruitment. We've always got to do that in coaching and management. You got to find a way.
So just finally, is there a position that you think is particularly difficult to recruit for, that I don't, for whatever reason, but yeah, is there something that really sticks out as like a really tricky one to get in?
Over the last couple of seasons, centre half's been very difficult. Really, really difficult. I don't know. It seems like a lot of people, it's like football has cycles, and everyone's wanted centre backs to step out and go and play. And for the last couple of seasons, trying to find a centre half who can go and head it, compete, be aggressive, and ultimately, in my eyes, be a centre half. Do the dirty things first. Be a defender, defend the box. They've been more difficult to find. Whether it's the way that academies are playing now, where I watch a lot of under-23 games, and there aren't many balls crossed into the box. There aren't many corners that go straight into the box, or all short corners. So trying to find some of these under-23 players who can then, and I have to put my hat on it, hang my hat on it and say, yes, he'll go and defend the box. It's difficult to back it up because we don't see them do it. So yeah, they've been a bit of a dying breed, the centre halves who want to actually go and attack it and win headers.
Step forward, Farron Rawson. Just to add to what you said earlier, I think you mentioned he wins about 90% of his. I think he actually. I remember looking at somebody posted a stat online that I think he won something like 87% of his headers after the first 3 or 4 games of the season. So he's what you're looking for, really, in that kind of regard.
Yeah, he is, and to be fair, I think Ryan's been excellent as well. Ryan's done the same on the left hand side. And like I said, they've got Jacob as well to balance off and allow them to make to give us a bit of pacing behind as well. So yeah, that's the kind that I see as a bit of a dying breed now, really.
Just one more I've just thought of. So when you are going out and watching games, is it? I think you kind of alluded to. Do you mainly go and watch the kind of under 23s games, or is it a bit of a mix, or do you watch non-league maybe?
I try and watch as many games as I can at as many levels as I can. Obviously, there's only me out, there's only me doing it, so it's difficult. But I need to be the man to come to if you're going to ask my opinion on such a player in such a team. I've got to try and know as much as I can as quickly as I can. So at this moment in time, I've been trying to watch as many games as I can on a Saturday, a Monday, a Tuesday, a Friday, of teams that I've not already seen, and keep visiting these places where I can get two teams at one time and get as many players seen as I possibly can.
Very interesting. Cheers. Back over to you, Freeze.
Thanks for that, Greg.
No problem.
It sounds to me like I hope you've got a nice car.
It's got wheels and it moves. That'll do for me.
No, it's my missus always says one of her favourite quotes is life's too short to drive a crap car. I hope you've got something that's really nice and comfy with a good stereo. So moving on, Charlie, obviously time to come for your update, but I want to start by saying, as I alluded to before, the only man from the boardroom at Forest Green, and reading your programme notes and what you got up to, did you stand still much?
I actually got there 1 minute past 3 as well. I actually managed my son's first ever under-8s football match. I lost 6-3, needed a centre half.
But, I can't help you.
Yeah, exactly. So I drove all the way there, some road closures, got there 1 minute past 3. Before I got there, I called Derek and said, "Well, can I be deputy kickman?"
I saw you sat on the bench. I saw you sat on the bench.
He said, deputy kitman has come and sit with us. So I got in, got right to the front. Derek sat down next to Barry Roach.
Yeah.
And that was obviously like living the dream, as a fan, which was brilliant. Then at half time, I just walked across the pitch to the away fans. Obviously, there was a lot of stuff on social media, but I was not many fans. So I bought them all a drink and some chips, and lots of people weren't having gravy. There was gravy available, they weren't having it. I was very disappointed. Northern boys. Very, very, very disappointed. Even though it's probably being gravy.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to interrupt and go to Atherton boy. Chips and gravy or not?
Oh, you can't not have chips and gravy.
Thank you.
Yeah. I was disappointed. There's several Morecambe fans not having gravy with the chips, but
that's a disgrace. They're crossed off the shrimps list for me now.
Yeah. Then I went back. to the box for about 5 minutes because it was on my own. Then I went on the co-commentary with Dave Salmon and called the winner before Dave called Farron Russell to sort the winner. So a fantastic day, and just the atmosphere around the squad is really, really positive. Like Greg was saying, everyone's really happy. I know we got the win, but I think even if we got a draw, it'd be pretty positive. The fans are all positive and happy. We've got great. We're so lucky to have the guys to follow us away. And it was just a fantastic day. And I think it's going to be. I think the Forest Green result last week will have a similar effect to the Burton game last year.
Yeah,
I've just got a feeling about it. I think with the penalty shootout win inverted commas on Tuesday, I think a lot of these neg people are going to be going away, and we've got a big game against our bogey team, Cambridge. Derek's going to want to get a good win, because we've seen 4 pretty bad defeats since Derek joined.
So, am I right in thinking you were trying to buy chips and gravy for all 112 away fans? Is that what you're saying?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of people didn't. Some people cottoned onto it. Some people already bought their stuff. Some people were drinking tea and coffee with real milk they smuggled into the ground, so they didn't have to drink soy milk and stuff like that. But I offered to buy everyone a drink, but a lot of people didn't take me up on it. So fair enough. I tried.
Well,
Right.
bless your heart. But so I appreciate what you're saying and the fact that, it was great to win, get the first win of the season. The away fans were really, really positive. The only downside is there's people refusing gravy, which I just find very hard to believe. That's sacrilege.
Yeah.
So go on then. You've got updates for us from the boardroom and what's going on behind the scenes, Charlie, as always.
Yes. So we're swimming dog. That's my dog in the background. Pablo, the crazy cabin. So the head of media. We've got a shortlist together of a couple of people, but we're going to go back and get some more candidates because we want some other people to compare it to. It's obviously quite a difficult time to look for a head of media. So obviously people are in the swing of things, looking for they're getting down and so busy. None of them are probably looking for a job because they're so busy doing all the media for their clubs.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 guys on the shortlist at the moment. We want to have 3 or 4. That's going to take a couple more weeks. Matt Smith's going to be juggling that for now. So if any fans are getting worried about a bit less stuff on social media for the next couple of weeks, that's because Matt's being a student, working full time at the club, new baby, all that sort of stuff. So please bear with us on that. But we will make sure we get a very good candidate for that. We did have one very strong candidate who can't now relocate, which is a shame. And then we're just on the way to Cambridge to try and get a big crowd in. I was going to say, it used to be international break, didn't it, last season? This game would have probably been called off, so it's quite good to get continuing the momentum from last week. So I think the ticket sales are going fairly well. We are aware of the M6 closures in the next few weeks.
It's open. They've cancelled that. It's open.
Oh, it's open. When was that?
They've announced it today. There's going to be, it's southbound only. There will be 2 lanes open. And
Can we get to Accrington?
Yeah, you can get to Accrington. Yeah, you can. There'll be 2 lanes open. They're going to close it. I think what I read today, they're going to close it at 9 p.m. and open it again at 6 a.m. But it's instead of being closed for for 72 hours, it's actually closing at night. So it's going to be open during the day, which is positive. So
yes, we had our quarterly board meeting last week. Everything's going well with the funds and the club, and everything's really positive. And just want to get through, as I said in my programme notes coming this Saturday, that I think the fair reflection will be at the end of October. We've played all the few more teams around us to show where we belong as the first part of the season in the league. I think because I really don't think we deserve to be in the bottom 4. I think we're probably lower mid-table at the moment on potential, and we're going to try and get some football fortune together to get Greg some extra cash for the transfer window in December. Because Derek will be knocking on the door in November, I'm sure. But if we get some really good performances on Greg, and we get some positivity going in a higher league position, people are going to want to come and play for us, aren't they?
That's the plan. That's the plan. Sounds a good plan to me. To be fair, like we said, everyone wants to be part of something when it's going well, So we can get some form, continue our form, and add the wins to it as well. I think we'll be in a good position.
So looking at we've got Cambridge at home on Saturday. And before we were doing the recording, I was alluding to the fact that they are a bit of a bogey team for us, Joel. We managed to lose 5-0 and 2-0 last year without really getting the last 2 seasons without really getting a kick against them at home. And the away games, we've lost most of them 2-1 to a dodgy penalty. So I think we're due some luck, aren't we?
Yeah, I was actually kind of looking into our form against Cambridge. So the last 6 games, it's been 5 defeats in a row and 1 draw. However, the 6 games before that, we were unbeaten. We were 4 wins and 2 draws. So if we're going to go off that pattern, it's cycles of 6. So we'll do a few wins.
Exactly.
So I'm really scraping the barrel there, aren't I? But yeah,
I like you thinking.
It's a bit of a pattern to it, isn't there? But yeah, Cambridge, as much as infuriating they are because we keep not beating them, keep losing to them. They're a team that are in a kind of similar position to us. They're competing probably with one of the lower budgets in League One. A lot of people will be like, "What are you doing here in this division?" But they've got a good little setup going, and I think there are some similarities in the kind of style, and that probably a bit more low possession and a bit direct at times. So it'll be an interesting kind of clash, I think, on Saturday, and we'll probably see they'll probably get a little bit more time the ball, which would be nice to see. Kind of the likes of Shaw and Weir and Taylor maybe kind of play a bit, do their stuff a bit more. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully we'll get this next block of 6 go in our favour.
I think the bogey team thing is more about the time of the season when we played them. As I remember it, we beat Cheltenham 2-1 in the first game of the season, and we played them, we lost 5-0 or 4 or 5-0. Then we lost to Newcastle 7-0. Then we lost someone else 5-0. Can't remember who it was.
No,
Crawley 4-0.
Crawley 4-0, yeah.
Crawley 4-0, yeah, 4 away, 0-0 at half time, lost 4-0.
Yeah.
And it was like world's ending. Then we got it back, got promoted. Then last year we were doing quite well. I seem to remember we lost 2-0, but it was like a really, really bad 2-0. We got destroyed. Like MK Dons, we lost 4-0, but we played a lot better than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then both the last 2 away games, Cole scored that goal. We'd beaten Burton and Oxford. We played them away, and Cole scored the absolute wonder goal. And they gave a dodgy penalty a minute later. I mean, it was just like that penalty. Everyone was like, that penalty might stop us, might relegate us.
Yeah.
It was that sort of feeling. And the year before, Gibbo got sent off in the last man, pretty much on the corner flag.
Yeah.
And we were getting automatic. That result stopped us getting automatic promotion.
It did. And that was a dodgy penalty where Ryan Cooney went in for a tackle and their guy was running alongside him and stuck his foot out so that Ryan Cooney kicked it and then fell over, and the ref gave it. Even after the game, Mark Bonner went, yeah, it was a bit of a lucky penalty. And lucky? Dear God, you know. So yeah, we're due a bit of luck. So I'm envisaging this. Faz did it last week. Jensen Weir, he was on loan at Cambridge, wasn't he? So he's bound to score against them on Saturday. Discuss.
You know what? If the ball's falling on the edge of the 18-yard box to anyone, I'm sure he'd be in the top couple that you'd want it to fall to. Yeah. You know, he's got good technique. He's not scared to have a shot on goal. And like you say, scoring against your old team, if that's a pattern we're going to go down, then fingers crossed it's going to be Jensen.
Yeah, I'm hoping so.
I think the Gabba Sutton said on Saturday they didn't play very well against Cheltenham last week, and they lost 3-0 to Barnsley at home last week. So
Barnsley as well.
Yeah. So
Barnsley are improving though, aren't they? So again, I think
fingers crossed. If it all goes wrong, blame Greg.
Yeah.
It's like you just sound like my wife.
So we'll wrap up now. It's been interesting as always, and thanks for coming on, Greg. I'm just going to close with Joel. With you've got anything up to update from the trust?
Not too much this week, aside from I do now have the confirmed date of the Halloween party for trust members. That is the 28th of October at Morecambe Cricket Club. So yeah, we'll have a bit more about that on social media. So keep an eye out.
Oh, get your costumes ready.
I know, exactly.
So that's it from the trust. Thank you for listening to this. This has been episode 8. We've touched on some great ground, because the simple fact is, you know, we finished last Saturday in the 93rd minute with Big Faz heading home for our first win of the season, and I'm hopeful when we come back next week that we'll be able to talk about Jensen Weir's 35-yarder into the top corner, and we've got rid of Cambridge, but you just never know, do you? So thanks to Charlie. Keep up the great work. You know, try and get people to have gravy next time. Greg, thank you for coming on. It's been a real pleasure. It's been a fantastic insight on what you're doing. And obviously, when we're actually probably comfortably mid-table in January, and I've won the lottery, you'll be busy signing players that we really, really do fancy. So you'll have to come back on then. Is that okay?
I look forward to the call.
He's also promised he's going to come to the Ipswich game on the 8th, haven't you, Greg? Yes, I have. I need to run that by Derek first, but yeah, I have. Well, you're allowed to come, mate, for the Ipswich game. Well, like I say, I'm always out and about. To be fair, when we play, everyone else is playing. But yeah, it is important that I see us as well. Well, fingers crossed you bring us a bit of luck. And Joel, thanks for your magic as always. And as soon as he started stuff about the stats, your eyes lit up, and I was like, "Oh, this is manna from heaven." I think before I came on, I think you two had cooked this up between you. But anyway, never mind.
So this has been ShrimpNet. Thanks for listening. If you like us, obviously give us a like. If you don't, then obviously tell us what you don't like and we'll see if we can change it. But we seem to be doing okay. Thanks for listening.